Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
All right, good morning. It's Monday, Rise and Grind Morning Show. Oop, just lost an ear. Hope you guys are all doing good this morning. We've got a packed show for you guys as usual. A lot of topics we're going to get to today. Lions surprising cuts to players. Speculated, pressured, whatever word you want to use. I don't think it's going to happen, but we're going to talk about that. And we've got an offensive line breakdown today. Pat Kerwin, Jim Miller did a really good job talking about the offensive line, and I want to bring their audio in, and we'll break it down a little bit. I think it's going to be kind of fun to hear what they say and how they analyze these guys. So that's part of the topic this morning. Eric's back this morning, so that's great news, and he's got a few topics for us today too. So without further ado, let's get everybody in and get this show on the road. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
What's happening, Eric? You've been away for a couple weeks handling work things and that. So what's new, man?
Yeah, just a bunch of business, dealing with bugs and
Dealing with bugs.
and people on the beach. That's about it for me.
Man, that sounds like such a hard life, right?
Yeah. Hey, bugs are not fun.
No, you survived.
Not up there anyway.
Yeah. If you see my latest videos, everybody's got bug nets on and everybody's freaking out in my videos. Why do you guys have those things on your heads? So we don't get eaten alive.
Yeah, bugs up north are no joke.
Yeah.
No joke, especially those mosquitoes. So what about you, Riley? How's your weekend, man?
Yeah, it was good. Another quick weekend. We're one weekend closer to football. Good to have Eric back in the saddle. And man, guys, when did we last do this with all three of us? It's been a while. It feels. So yeah, good to have all of us back. And we play a month from today. I think it is.
Yeah, about a month from today. It's crazy because I was just discussing last night with Megan which games we're going to go to. And so I'm just going to share my text because, we're wondering, okay, what games we're going to go to. I said, okay, how about all the home games, of course, Ravens, Cincinnati, Chiefs, Philly, LA. How about just all of them? How about we just go do them all?
Why not?
And she's probably wondering like, oh my God, this is going to be like $25,000 just to go to some football games. But there's some good stadiums on this list that I haven't been to yet, and there's some things that I would like to do. So I guess that was really my first question this morning is if you had one game that you could only go to, an away game this season, Eric, which stadium do you want to go to?
Not Lambeau. So I've been mulling it over which one I want to go to. I really like going to Minneapolis. I really, really like their stadium. It is state of the art. It is probably the nicest stadium in the NFL, but I've been there already. So my guitar player in the last band that I was in, his name's Denny. He's a huge Eagles fan. I even took him to the Lions-Eagles game the last time the Eagles played at the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was 2021, right?
Yeah, and he really, really wants me to go to Philly with him, and so I may go to Philly.
I'm definitely going to Philly. I want to go get yelled at and spit on and food thrown at, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a good time out in Philly. They're probably the worst NFL fans in history.
I don't know. I had this thing on my Facebook the other day that Green Bay fans were voted the worst fans in the NFL.
What?
So, yeah, and in my opinion,
They're so damn nice.
Yeah, there's no surprise that headline
you
caught
guys
it.
meet the wrong ones or something. I don't know. You
Well,
guys
I mean, you've got people around you that maybe just give you a bunch of crap, but there has not been one Packer fan that I have come across. Now, the guys that I was sitting next to in the monsoon last year, you know, they're trying to, you know, razz you up a little bit, give you a little bit of crap, and I'm just staying quiet, like scoreboard.
Yeah.
Scoreboard. Oh, high five, Jameer. Cool. Score. Scoreboard. Hey, what's the score, guys? And then they just laugh by like the third quarter. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I've never really had a bad time. I mean, it's even when I think didn't we go to that one store? Didn't I bring you to that one store, Shields?
Yeah.
So I had an incredible, opportunity to meet people there last year. It was just packed. Of course, you know, the game of the weekend, or was that a Thursday? What day was that? I don't remember, but
that was Thursday.
so we walk in and it's just loaded with Packers fans. We're the only Lions fans walking through the door. And I'm like, okay, this isn't going to go well. And then we grab our stuff quickly. We get in line and it's, hey, man, how you doing? How's your trip? You from here? Where you from? Just small talk like we're friends. You know what I mean? And it's, hey, man, you got a really good team. Hope you guys don't win, but I can't say that I want to see you lose. And I'm like, am I in Green Bay? Like, what's going on here? Because maybe we just hate them a lot more than they hate us, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Riley, answer the same question for you, man. If you had one stadium that you could visit this year that's on the Lions schedule, where would it be?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've always wanted to go to Minnesota. Just the stadium, Eric, you just mentioned it. And have you been out there, Will, to Minnesota?
I've been up there, never went into the stadium.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for me, Minnesota, or I've been to SoFi Stadium, but man, I do want to go see that Lions-Rams game again and see if they can beat Stafford this time in LA. And yeah, I think that'd be awesome. So LA or Minnesota for me.
So I don't think we're going to be able to do any of these trips. I mean, every year I want to do these trips, and maybe next year it'll change. Maybe I'll just have to buy all the damn tickets and purchase all the packages to make it happen. But the trips that I was looking at last night, to be honest with you, I didn't find anything extremely expensive about travel. I think the most important or the most expensive part is the tickets. Mm-hmm. You can go to LA, 2 people, fly, rental car, room, 3.5-star better hotels for less than $1,200 round trip for 2 people. But the tickets are going to cost you about $800 or more, you know, depending on where you want to sit. But I was finding tickets on StubHub last night for like $480, $500 a seat. I like to sit in the lower bowl as close as I can get. I mean, even if you want to sit up in the nosebleeds, it's still going to cost you $350, $400, no matter what. The Chiefs, by far the most expensive game, I think, on the list this year. They really upped their prices. They're probably more than double of everybody else.
Wow.
Yep. So it'd be interesting to see where prices end up. I mean, I may wait to snag tickets late. I may not. But at least securing the trips and making sure that that's good to go is, I think, the most important thing. So for me, it's L.A. It's L.A., right? Been out there to Santa Clara for the 49ers, but I do want to get in and see that stadium out there. It's fairly new. And of course, I want to see us take down Stafford again. So 3rd time in a row. That's what I want to see. It's probably going to be his last year playing, too.
Yeah, he's coming up on the end there, right? But for me, too, I got to say, I haven't been to Ford Field yet. So that is happening this year. I was talking to my good friend Bobby the other day. We were, saying, hey, man, we're going to find one of these games and make it out to Detroit. So that is happening this year. I don't know which game.
Well, you should probably let me know which game you're looking at. We might have some season tickets open.
Either Will or I can hook you up with a ticket, Riley.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to come out and then hopefully get a chance to meet some people here, get some faces to some names to some usernames. I'm not going to say hi at Derek Lewis or hi at Trace. I'm going to.
Well, some of them are real names, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, There's some funny names in there. You wouldn't even know who they are.
Yeah, Attila the Hun or something.
But what's weird is all the names have changed, and I still didn't find any good reason this weekend as to why something's changed in YouTube. Everyone's names have changed. But
Oh, really?
yeah, if you haven't noticed, I mean, they've got the at symbol now.
Yeah, and they got numbers on them. Like Trace is H13.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, Riley's at Riley O'Brien 7.
Yeah, it's just weird.
I wonder if I got a number. I'm gonna have to put in something in the comments now.
All right, I got to run upstairs real quick. Eric, if you wouldn't mind, get us going on the first topic of the day. Let me see if I've got a scene for you guys though, before I do that. I should.
All right.
I should. I don't know what it's going to look like. Oh, it's empty. That's all right. I'll be right back. If you wouldn't mind, get us rolling on the Cowboys.
Sure. So the Dallas Cowboys, their win projection just came out for the 2025 season, and it's their lowest that it's been in over 20 years. Yes, the lowest in 20 years. And the very first sentence in this article is this: this isn't going to be a good year for the Dallas Cowboys. That was the very first thing that got me looking at this on this article. So while winning the Super Bowl might seem outlandish, they have the Cowboys win total projection at a mere 7.5 games this season. If that seems too low to you, that's because it is. In fact, you'd have to go back over 20 years to find a season where they had a win total projection this low. And then this gentleman that put this together, he put together the last 20 years. He plotted what their over under was for the last 10 years, or for the last 20 years. And the last time it was this low was back in 2002, when it was only 6 games. Other than that, it's been 7.5, 9, 8, 9, 9, 10.5, 9, 10, 9, 8.5, 8.5, 8, 9.5, 8.5, 9.5, 8.5, 9, 10, 9, 10.5, 9.5, 10 for last year, and 7.5 this year. So just like the Lions have made it to at least 12-5 the last couple of years, that's how the Cowboys were for a good 4 or 5 years there. They were hitting 12 wins every season, making the playoffs. Now, leaving in the first round of the playoffs every year, they just couldn't win a playoff game. But it's surprising for the team that over the last 20-25 years has one of the best win totals. I think they have a 5.95 winning percentage over the last 20 years. They're definitely taking a giant step back this year in what they usually predict for the Dallas Cowboys. What do you guys think? Is 7.5 too high, or is 7.5 too low for the Dallas Cowboys?
Go ahead, Riley.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have some family and friends that are Dallas Cowboys fans, and they're not too excited about their coach, or at least they don't know what they're going to get with the new coach. They also have a tough schedule this year. But I don't know, maybe they're trying to reverse it here, because usually this time of the year, we're always hearing, hey, this is Dallas's year, right? They're going, like you just said, 12, 13 wins. So maybe they're just trying a little reverse psychology on it. But I do know that the very close family member friends that I have that are Dallas Cowboys fans, they are not too particularly excited about their new coach.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, they are. And maybe it's just because but one guy told me, he said, I just don't think that the offense is going to be very explosive. Take what you will from that. But yeah, they're not excited, because I think they feel like they settled for the guy that they had as head coach.
Yeah, I don't think they settled for Kellen Moore at all.
No, that he went to New Orleans.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were talking Cowboys. I'm sorry.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's going to be. It is what it is, and that's what it was. You know what I mean? For the Cowboys, they have kind of fallen off the last several seasons. They overpaid Dak Prescott, and I think that's going to hurt them. Brian Schottenheimer, I don't think he's a settle type of coach. Like, I don't think they settled for him. I think he's a pretty damn good coach. look, them having the third lowest projected win total in the last, was it 20 years, right? Eric, was it?
This is the lowest projected win total in over 20 years. So
Yeah.
from the stretch from 2004 to 2024, 100% of the time they were projected to have a winning record. 71% of the time they were projected to have at least 9 wins. 24% of the time they were projected to have double-digit wins. And they have never been projected to have 11 or more wins.
I guess what I'm seeing here is back in 2021 and 2022, they were projected at 5.5 and 6. And then this year it's 7.5. So this is the third lowest total since 2000.
Yep.
And I would say, why is that not the same for the Bears? That's my question. If you're going to put the Cowboys in this territory, who I think the Cowboys have a much better team than what the Bears do right now, why would that be any different for the Bears? When I seen this pop through last night from you and I'm reading about it, I'm like, the Bears shouldn't even be ranked or projected to have more than 7.5 wins, to be honest. But look, I think it is what it is, man. It's a sign of the times. They need to rebuild their team, and I think the quarterback salaries are going to handicap some teams. And I think the biggest problem for the Cowboys is their owner. I really do. I think that, he's really old, and I think it's time for him to just step away and just let the people that he hires do their job. It's more important now than ever before for that to be the truth, and it's just not happening. And I think until that happens, and unfortunately, I think it's going to take Jones to be in a grave before the Cowboys get good again. And I'm not saying I want to see that. I'm just saying I think that that's what it's going to take, because someone else taking over the team, I think, is going to refine the Cowboys, if you will.
Yeah, it'll change up the status quo. Could you imagine if Ben Johnson went to Dallas? They'd be saying, "Oh, they're going to win 13 games."
Well, probably. I could see that. There's been a lot of crap over the weekend. I listened to quite a few podcasts over the weekend while I was out doing some work, and I can't believe how much respect the Bears are getting, and what many different outlets are saying, that they expect the Bears to be really good. And it's all because of Ben Johnson. And then they on the other side of the coin, they say the Lions are going to fall because they don't have Ben Johnson. And the reason why the Lions were so good is because of Ben Johnson. And it's like, some people that say that, I don't think have a clue. I think that they're just speaking out of both sides of their mouth, because then down the line, they're going to say, "Oh, we knew it was Dan Campbell. We knew it was his. We knew they wouldn't fall apart." It's just, it's all that clickbait crap, man. It's just, it gets old.
Yeah. Imagine if Dan Campbell, for some reason, just up and went and became the Bears head coach this offseason. What would they be saying? The Bears are winning the NFC North. They just got Dan Campbell. Right? Well, the Lions still have Dan Campbell.
Well, see, I could believe in that more, that if you brought a coach that has been coaching for 4 years in the league straight, not as an interim, but as a winning coach, that if he were to go to a new team and seeing what he did with the Lions quickly, I would believe in that. I would say that, yep, he could turn around the Bears immediately and they could be winners in year one. Maybe not Super Bowl, but they could be playoff bound and potentially winning a playoff game or two just with Dan Campbell. That's a question. I'm glad that you just brought that up. So sidebar here for a moment. Eric, what happens when Dan Campbell leaves the Lions?
The team's not going to be the same.
Do you think that Dan Campbell's going to leave the Lions in the next 5 years?
No.
Riley? Do you think he's going to leave in the next 5 years?
I don't think.
What if they win a
so.
Super Bowl? How much longer does Dan stick around?
I think he sticks
That's
around.
a great question.
I think he sticks around and becomes the longest tenured head coach in Lions history and sets records that no other coach is going to ever come near for the Detroit Lions.
I love the homerism with that. I see. We're talking about the Cowboys. I see Dan going home in less than 10 years. I see him going to Dallas. When Jones is out of the picture, I see him going home. Unfortunately, we see it happen too often with players. They want to go home. I'm thinking that Dan's going to want to turn around the Cowboys too. Do you think that Dan could take two teams to a Super Bowl in 10 years? We'll start with you, Eric. We'll go Eric and then Riley.
Yeah, it's possible. He is a master at putting together a staff. He's already shown that. And if he can do it this year with this brand new staff, once again, with a brand new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and a bunch of other coaches, because everybody got poached, if he can do it with all this brand new set of people, then that just shows he's a master at building a coaching staff.
I think he's definitely a master at rebuilding and building a brand and building this team up from the ground, from the ground up like he has. Riley, what do you think, man? One, do you think that he goes home to Dallas at some point? And two, do you think that he can lead two teams to a Super Bowl in less than 10 seasons of becoming a head coach for the first time ever? Because really, becoming the head coach of the Lions was his first real gig. I'm not going to count interim head coaching positions, but his first real gig as a head coach was with the Lions. Do you think he can do it with two teams?
Yeah, so the thing that comes to mind for me, nothing good lasts forever, right? We know that that's true. It's hard to see a guy stay in one spot for so long, and that's when you ask that question. If they win a Super Bowl, it could do one of two things. It could make him want to stay for the long haul, or like you said, change things up. Because if you've won it in Detroit, the only way you can go from there is down, right? And you just imagine the mojo he would carry into a new locker room, because now it's not the funny, quirky, biting kneecaps off. If he becomes a head coach of a different team at some point, and if it is Dallas, the respect he commands the moment he walks into that room is going to be off the charts. Like it would be as good as anybody could possibly have. I feel like. So yeah, he would. I think he would go, and of course he would look at a situation and say, what's the roster? What's my chances to win here? But yeah, I think if it were, someplace like Dallas, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have success.
So it's Mystery Monday, and who knows what the heck we're going to talk about today, but you can already tell that talking about Dan Campbell is going to ruffle a lot of feathers this morning. And just thinking about, we haven't won anything yet, and already considering the fact that Dan Campbell could be with another team in the next few seasons. I don't want to think about that, but we have to think about the possibility of it happening. And to, have these conversations, I'd like for you to do me a huge favor right now. Step out of the chat, smash that like button for us, and then hit the subscribe button, toggle on notifications. That way you know that when we're going live and when a new video pops, that you'll get notified. Appreciate you guys doing that. Thank you for being part of the Rock Down Detroit Lions family here at Rock Down Detroit Lions Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. So, guys, one other thing, coming up at about 8:45-ish this morning, 9 a.m., we want to hear from you, 313-312-0348. Again, coming up at about 8:45, 9 a.m., we're going to open up the phone lines. We want to hear from you guys. Dial it in, 313-312-0348. Will Dan Campbell go to another team in the next 10 seasons? Which team do you think that is going to be? Let us know in the comments below. And do you think that he can take two teams to a Super Bowl? I think he can. But we've got to get that one first. And I think that getting that one requires the defense. And Eric, walk us through Brian Branch talking about this defense that, in his opinion, we're invincible, right? I think that I feel that way personally. I think that this defense is metal tested, battle tested. I think that they're sharpened. They're mostly healthy now. And I think that they're going to go the distance this year. My goodness, if we can just stay healthy, I think sky's the limit. And that's why I don't understand these mystery cuts. And this is the second week in a row that we're apparently cutting all these players on the team. But before we get to that, what's going on with Brian Branch?
Yeah, so Brian Branch spoke the other day, and I want to set it up by talking about last year's season a little bit, okay? So the Lions, their star pass rusher, Aiden Hutchinson, fractures his fibula and his tibia in week 6. But before that, Detroit lost pass rusher Marcus Davenport, linebacker Derek Barnes, both to season-ending injuries. And then Alex Anzalone broke his arm. And then Malcolm Rodriguez tore his ACL. And so did Lee McNeil. And then cornerback Carlton Davis went down with a broken jaw. And then on the second play on defense in the divisional game, Amik Robertson breaks his arm. It was just the Walking Dead, seriously, for the Detroit Lions defense. But Detroit's band of walking wounded still persevered to finish with the NFC's #1 seed, and although they fell short of their ultimate goal, Brian Branch believes they've come out on the other side forged by experience. And this is what he went on to say, quote, "We went through the ups and downs, Branch. We fought together in tough games. We have been in a game where it depended on us to win. So it just makes everybody buy in. Once you have a group that is bought in and has gone through trials and tribulations, we feel invincible." And then he said, "I feel like we're better than last year. We're hungry. And I feel that's going to separate us. Our chemistry is on a whole nother level," end quote. And I love hearing that he thinks this team is battle hardened and ready to go, and they're hungry, and he loves the chemistry, and he thinks they're going to be better than last year. And that's
I
exactly
I agree with him, Eric. I think
feel like we're going to be better than last year.
1,000%.
They are going to be better on defense than last year. I guarantee that right now.
So is this not what we've been talking about all season? I mean, I think the three of us have been fairly in the same boat when we've been talking about this team. And as soon as free agency ended and you saw that we got a majority of the guys back, one of the first things we talked about is this defense not only has the chemistry, right? They have that camaraderie built up, but they're going to be healthy. Our depth, right? Our third and fourth stringers that won 15 games on the backs of those guys is now more battle tested than any other team in the NFL. They have more collective snaps. And we're going to talk about snaps with the offensive line in just a moment and how important it is. But they have more collective snaps now on the depth of their roster than any other team does entering this season. I think it's important that what the Lions went through last year, it was another step in the right direction. I know a lot of people think it was a failure, but I don't think it was. I think it was another step in the right direction. See what you got below your starters. And now the next step is Super Bowl. This is the season. Like, this has to be the season. We've been through it all. There's no other scenarios, in my opinion, that paint a better picture at giving the Lions a better opportunity to go out and win a Super Bowl than this year. It's over, right? It's Super Bowl or bust. Or like Amon-Ra said, it's Super Bowl or nothing else, or whatever he said. I think this team has it. I think the depth is the most important piece to it. And it's going to be a big reason why they win games early in the season. Riley, what are your thoughts on Brian Branch and his quote? Again, let me reread it one more time here, where he says, "We fought together in tough games. We have been in a game where it depended on us to win. So it just makes everybody buy in. Once you have a group that has bought in and has gone through trials and tribulations, we feel invincible." Amazing, right? I think it's an amazing quote. So take it away on your thoughts here on this defense and what Brian Branch is saying.
It is an amazing quote. You love seeing that. You love hearing that from one of the best players on the defense. Here's the thing. This team knows it can win. These players know they can win. It's such a small example, but even this morning, in our message thread, the three of us, I was like, man, I'm excited that we got the three of us back. There's a small example to what these guys see on the field. When you look up and now Aiden Hutchinson's back, well, not just Aiden, but eventually Aleem. You're going to have Derek back. You're going to have Marcus Davenport back. Just the vibes, the whatever however you want to call it, that means something. It's not for nothing. So these guys know they can win. They've got their reinforcements, and they're excited, obviously, to take it out. They're chomping at the bit, as it were, to get out there on the field. And they don't have to prove it to anybody that they can win. They don't have to prove it to themselves. They know they can. Now it's just about going out and having a bunch of fun, playing really hard team defense.
I don't even know what else we could say about Brian Branch. And I mean, the guy's just been absolutely electric. He's been tough his whole career so far. He's been one of the best safeties in the league. And if anybody knows how important it is to have all the guys in front of you in lockstep, they're all working at the same pace. They all understand this guy understands his job. This guy understands his job. the guy in front of me, behind me, they all understand what they're doing now. It's time for us just to go play. It's time for us to finally just go play the game that we love. And I think that that is another feather in Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell's cap, is finding guys that genuinely love football. And that is what they plan to do each and every morning, is to go play the game they love. Eric, Riley, you guys have heard it enough throughout your life. And I think Eric is doing it right now. And that is, when you go to work every day and you love it, it's not work, right? You have so much more motivation waking up when you have fun, when you love what you're doing. It's different for a lot of people punching a 9 to 5. They don't really love their job. They have to collect a paycheck. Brian Branch loves football. Dan Campbell loves football. Jack Campbell loves football. Ali McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, they love football. Jared Goff loves football. And that's why you're going to see that Lombardi Trophy walking down Brush Street sometime next February in 2026. Final thoughts on this, Eric?
Well, speaking of that, Brian Branch had one more quote. He said, last year, injuries, they were kind of against us. This year, everybody's healthy that is coming back, and we're just hungry. We've still got the same mission and the same goals. We're trying to get that Super Bowl. Well, last year, if you remember, they were coming off a 12-5 season. They were the number one in the division, in the North Division. So they were playing a first place schedule, which was supposed to be the hardest schedule, and they were not supposed to win 15 games. I think the over under for them was 10 games, 10 or 10 and a half. And Vegas did not predict 15 wins. So Vegas is trying to do the exact same thing again this year, giving them a 10-win over-under. So in my mind, they're once again playing a first-place schedule. It's another brutal road schedule, just like last year. Nobody thought we could do it last year. Well, I think they're going to be a better team this year than they were last year, just because of addition by subtraction. They're not going to have all these people with injuries this year. I think it's going to be better health, and it's going to lead to a better team.
Here's what I want to do. I want to transition to First Things First, which is a show I believe on, I don't know, FS1 or something like that. But they were talking about, I guess, speaking on Brian Branch having confidence and bringing in this video. I think that, one, they're going to talk about two players that they feel are the most important players to watch this season. And when Brian Branch has confidence, there's a player that we need on defense that has to have a good season. I'm not saying he has to have the best season ever, but I think that he has to have a very good season. And there's also another good statement here in the chat that I want to highlight before I do this. Adam Gakowski, good morning, by the way, and thank you again for your donation last week. Adam donates every single week, and I can't thank you enough, man. Really appreciate you. I did send him a gift a couple weeks ago from the Rock Down Cancer Foundation, and Adam, your patronage, man, is huge and appreciated. But he says, I hate to be negative, but he's being honest, which we love to do on this channel, is being honest about things. He says, I love that we're getting our defense back. I'm just nervous how our defensive players that were hurt, obviously last season, will come back and perform. And it's a good statement. It's something that we talk about often on this channel as well, that when you have big injuries and you come back the next season, I call it a throwaway season because you just don't know what you're going to get, right? There's kind of two pillars, if you will, for that statement, I guess is how I'll say that. If you get injured late in the season, and it's a pretty rough recovery, right? ACLs, Achilles, you can pretty much guarantee that next season might be a throwaway season, meaning it's going to take you a few games to get your feet underneath you, to trust it again. You're probably not going to rack up a bunch of stats. I'm hoping you're not going to be a liability, but it also depends on what position you're playing. Receivers and corners, you can forget it, right? Interior defensive and offensive linemen, really rough to get back that quick, but I think that they can be a little bit more relied upon than not because of their position. It's not like they're out there cutting on a dime, right? They're not running a 40 at 4.5 or 4-3 or 4-4 and trying to plant and turn. No, but they are trying to keep guys, that are 300 plus pounds off of them and being able to maneuver around them. So it's still difficult, right? The other pillar to that is if you get injured early in the season, and I don't care what the injury is. In Aiden Hutchinson's case, he got injured early in the season. Some expected that he might make a Super Bowl run. I didn't think that was ever going to happen. And now he should be fully healthy, ready to rock and roll. Week 1, he should be good to go. And these inner camps that we're going to have with Miami and who is it? Is the Giants the other one? But Miami, or is it the Jags? Who is it? Is it the Giants?
Giants, yeah.
Giants,
Bills.
Miami.
It's Giants.
So I think that those are going to be imperative, super important for Aiden Hutchinson to kind of feel himself out again. Let's do this. Let's roll into this video, and it's just a couple of minutes long. They're going to talk about one player that is going to be extremely important for the Lions this season, and then the second part of this video is one of our opponents that they feel is the number one player to watch this season. Let's get into it. Take a look at the screen, please.
In FS1.
Yeah, maybe the world's, but we can't.
Maybe the world, but certainly in the FS1 world.
That's
So,
right.
That's a sore spot on this show.
I know, but now we've got
it usually sits
the
in
goat.
that seat is
But
very
you would
upset
think
about
that Nick would get used to it, given that it's been years and years of me beating him.
Oh,
I
my.
just now have done it on his turf. So you would think you would get to know. But yes, the 5 guys I'm most excited to see this upcoming season in the NFL. Number 4, Aiden Hutchinson. He's coming back from the huge injury, and it's more about what he represents, because I know what he is. He's obviously one of the 5 or 6 best pass rushers in the NFL. But I feel like last year, as great of a story as Washington was, we were robbed of the NFC Championship game that we deserved. The Lions never been to a Super Bowl in their franchise's history, and the injuries to their defensive starters became so comical that they were able to score. They got the 1 seed by beating Minnesota in Week 18. They get the bye. They host Washington in the divisional round. They score 31. And they get blown out, right? Because they give up 45. They were basically drawing dead going into the playoffs as a 1 seed because that no one could overcome that with their defensive games lost. If Hutchinson can just get them to league average, because there's questions with Ragnow's retirement, Ben Johnson's departure, Aaron Glenn's departure. Are the Lions, who have been a great team the last 2.5 years, are they going to backslide with their difficulty of schedule, difficulty of the division? I think it's just as likely that they're dominant again, but it'll be because if 97 can get back to form. Cannot wait to see the Lions defense.
Just quickly on this, I mean, he looks good here. As far as the editor of Hobble Watch, that injury was brutal, and he looks pretty good. Nick was worried that maybe the muscle definition on his legs look a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't know if that's fair or not, but I know Nick plays a doctor in this seat. I have no idea. I try not to judge the OTA videos. He looks good crawling there. But no, I don't know, but that's the whole key to the entire operation. He does, and he's an absolute beast.
Okay, now the second player that they're going to say is the most important.
Obvious. It's Danny's most excited to watch. Caleb Williams, man. He's got to. Can he keep up with Jaden Daniels? I think Drake May is going to be great. Yeah,
he got to catch up.
Catch up. Catch up's a better way to put it. You're right. Catch up's a better way to put it. But in my mind, keep up. And here's the thing, and we'll talk about it at some point and later and for years and years to come. He was good. He was good. The situation was a disaster, and I have very specific goals in mind for year 2 of Caleb Williams, year 1 with Ben Johnson, because year 1 was complicated. Just improve across the board. 62% completion, give me 65 plus. You got a McVay offense now? That should be doable. You had 20 passing touchdowns, be the first Bears quarterback ever to get to 30 or more. 3,500 passing yards, be the first Bears quarterback ever to get to 4,000 or more. Only franchise with both of those barometers. Brew, I'm not even being too ambitious. He was sacked 68 times. Just get below 50. just be below 50.
You aren't being that ambitious.
It's a lot of sacks.
He's getting sacked 49 times. That hurts those other numbers.
Well, I mean, Joe Burrow, he's up there. Aaron Rodgers has been up there at times. And just drop it a little bit, please, for your own health. And then
win, double it.
Wynn's got a double. Wynn's got a double. Wynn's got a double. Double wins. 9 plus. That's right.
That's not bad.
Caleb Williams.
Seems doable.
Most excited to watch this season.
Good list.
Thank you.
Nothing better than hearing the Bears getting sacked 68 times. Caleb Williams had a rough rookie season. At times, man, it didn't even look like he wanted to get off the carpet. So, Aiden Hutchinson, the 4th player, in their opinion, to watch this season. 4th most important player to watch this season. talking about the leg injury, having to come back from it. Eric, walk us through it, man. Why is it important that Aiden has a good season? And well, I guess what did you take from the video too?
Well, what I took from the video, that I wish I could put a bet on a very large amount for Caleb not to reach any of those goals, because I don't think he's going to hit any of those. I have a feeling he's going to get really frustrated with Ben Johnson's system. It's going to be too complicated for him. And with the pieces he has around him, as far as running back and wide receiver, I just don't think he is going to have the season everyone is predicting. So that's Caleb Williams. Aiden Hutchinson, he's the heartbeat of our defense. When he's not there, our defense is completely different. I know we still got pressures. I know we still got sacks on just about the same pace, but it's just when he's in there, the excitement that he brings and the leadership he brings, it's the glue for that defense. And when he's out there, everyone else plays better.
I agree, man. I think that obviously Aiden is a big part of this defense. You know, we've heard lately that the defense is built around Aiden. That Aiden can't win, or he can't, you know, the defense won't win without another Aiden. And I don't think that that's ever going to be true. I think that the Lions, you know, to your point, we did finish with the third most pressures in the league last season. And you don't do that just through week 5 or 5 games. You don't do that through week 6 with 5 games. You have to play the other 12 to be able to finish at the third best team in the league with pressures. Again, you know how I feel about pressures. I think that they are misguided. I think that they are misrepresented. I think that there is too many ways to get a pressure. It's kind of, you know, a can of worms has been opened, if you will. But there is no mistake how important Aiden is going to be to this team. If you are one of the fans that believes that we can't win without a $35 million guy opposite of Aiden, imagine us not having Aiden again. We were just fine last year. If we could have just kept a few more guys on the field, hell, I think we could have went the distance without him. And I'm not saying that I want that to happen. I'm just saying how good we were playing. If we could go back to week 7 and stay healthy from week 7 on, I think we had just as good of a chance as anybody. So that brings me back to the first thing that, you know, we were talking about this morning, or one of the first things is this team won on the backs of third and fourth string guys. Now imagine when your guys are healthy, your first stringers are back, your second stringers are back, and now your third string and your depth chart, that's the practice squad and the vet squad and the rookies, are that much better because of what they went through last year. Your second year guys now have more snaps than anybody else in the NFL. That's insane to think that. Riley, what do you think about their statements there about Aiden Hutchinson, and then roll right into Caleb Williams?
Yeah, so I want to say, I think a lot of things that we heard about Hutchinson there, things that we've heard a bunch, but I want to actually bring it back to something you just said, Will, and I want to make it kind of clear. I want to bring attention to this. So if I'm not mistaken, you just said your feeling is, even with a few more guys on the defense, the Lions could have won the Super Bowl last year, even without Aiden Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm. 1,000%.
I agree. They continued on. They won 15 games. They led the league with pressure, or not led the league, but they were top 3 in pressures throughout the season. So getting him back, just his presence, and I've talked about it before on the show, but not that it's a good thing that the Lions didn't win the Super Bowl last year, of course, but if they had won the Super Bowl, you have to kind of get inside the mind, or at least kind of try to get inside the mind of what that would do for Aiden Hutchinson's psychology, right? But now he's coming back saying, see how close we got. They need me. Now I'm coming back. Now I can be the thing that gets us over the top. So to have the season they did with the injuries they did, we've talked about it every which way. But I think getting Hutchinson back is going to be a huge thing just for his presence, because the other teams have to game plan for him. When he went down, all right, he's not there anymore. It changes the dynamic of it. So teams have to account for him, no matter what his statistical production is. But him coming back now, I can't imagine a player being more motivated than Hutchinson should be. with Caleb Williams, I've made it clear I think he has the talent to do it, but certainly we don't know what his mentality is. Eric, you said something there. Is the offense going to be too complicated for him in Chicago? It might be. We'll see how good of a coach Ben Johnson is, because if you're a really good coach, it's on you to dumb it down to get it to a situation where you can execute the offense. But also, you didn't take a head coaching job to dumb things down. You want to be able to go full.
Yeah.
All systems go.
Yeah, and then somebody in the chat says, that I was giving some Bears hate. I don't have any Bears hate. It's more focused towards Caleb Williams. We've been beating up on the Bears for a while now. Since Dan Campbell's gotten here, we've only lost to the Bears once or twice, and that's in 4 seasons. So I have no problem with the Bears. It's just I think Caleb Williams came in with way too much hype. I think he came in with a giant head, thinking he was going to be part owner of the team and his dad and all that whole situation. I just thought it was.
And then it resurfacing again this year. How much more crap was spewed on it, right?
Yeah, and then the exact same thing with Sanders, for the Browns. It's the same, too full of themselves. They think they're God's gift to football. I don't like players like that. So that's why I say I'll put a bet. I'd put $1,000 bet that he doesn't hit all those. There's absolutely no way he's going to have 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and a 65% completion percentage, and he's not going to take less sacks than last year and this and that. It takes time, and it's going to take time for the Bears. Now, do I think the Bears are on the right trajectory? Yes, they are. They have who I consider to be a very decent head coach now. Do I consider him a traitor to the Lions? Yes, I kind of do, because even Brad Holmes and the management for the Lions were like, really? The Bears? They didn't see it coming either. So you're going
and they kind of happened last minute too. From what we highlighted about Brad Holmes just about a week ago on the Greenlight podcast, where he said it kind of all happened that day that they knew that that's where he was going. They didn't really have a clue. Which I feel kind of weird, weirded out about that. How do you not know, why is there no communication at all?
Exactly.
I think that he knew. I just don't think the Lions knew.
Yeah. I think that's accurate. As far as Bears hate, Packers hate, look, hate's a strong word. I would say that I'm not a fan of any of those teams. I got a little bit more love for the Vikings than I do, anybody else in the NFC North. To kind of back you up on your statement there about our win percentage. Since 2022, the Lions are 15-3 against the North. Yep. Had 3 losses in 3 years.
Yep.
So I think what we finished, undefeated last year in the North.
6-0 last year.
And then we had, I think, 1 loss in each of the last 2 seasons. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, going back to 2022.
Yeah, it would have been 1 loss and 2 losses.
Yep, at Chicago, one of those.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 1 and 2. Yes, 1 and 2, which was 1 in 23 and 2 in 22, if I'm not mistaken, is how that went down. Yeah. All right, so Caleb Williams for me, man. Eric, I'm sorry, man. I think he's going to do it.
Really?
Yes, I think that under the Ben Johnson offense, I think with the weapons that they have, I think that he'll be able to reach 4,000 yards passing. The touchdowns, would they say over 30 TDs?
Yeah, 30 or more.
I'm going to put that at like 28.
All right, we're going to bet a steak dinner right now.
Sure.
You give Caleb Williams 30 or more touchdowns and 4,000 yards.
No, 28 or more and 4,000 yards.
No, you got to go with what they said. 30 or more.
I can't do it. I don't think he's going to get 30 TDs. I'm not saying it's not possible. A lot has to go right, but I'll bet you a steak dinner anyway. We'll go 30 or more and 4,000.
There we go.
What the hell? We'll do. It's just dinner, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got to eat.
We go it anyway.
So yeah, exactly. All right, it's 8:50 in the morning. We want to hear from you guys. Phone lines will be open. Make sure the phone's turned on.
Now we haven't done this in a really long time with us and the phone lines, so this should be a whole lot of fun.
I know it's hard for you guys to hear, so hopefully you could hear this morning. But anyway, that looks like the phone's hot. It's ready to go. I want to know from you guys a couple of questions. Number one, is Dan Campbell going to leave the NFC North after winning a Super Bowl? If so, when do you think that happens? What team do you think he goes to? I think it's the Cowboys. I think that after Jones rests for the rest of his life, that I think at that point that maybe Dan Campbell might want to go home at some point. And I'm not saying that he's going to leave the Lions. I'm not saying he's going to leave us high and dry after 2028. I think it's when his contract is up. Matter of fact, he may get extended again after this season, which I'm kind of banking on. I think that Sheila's probably going to try to restructure their contracts again, adding a few more dollars to their bucket and keeping Brad and Dan at least through 2030. But I do believe that the next team for Dan Campbell is the Cowboys, unfortunately. Maybe as much hate as you would think that he would have, or dislike that you think he would have for the Cowboys after that 1 year. To them, it's just business, man. It's just work. I don't think that they get caught up like that all the time. In the moment, maybe, but I think over the long haul of it. So we want to hear from you guys this morning, 313-312-0348. Tell us about Dan Campbell. If there's anything else you want to talk about, bring it up. And then Caleb Williams, do you think he's going to go 4,030 or not? And then I'd love to know what you think about the Lions win record. Where are we going to be? Looks like we got a caller already. Hold on one sec. Thank you for calling the Rise and Grind Morning Show. You're live. Who is this, please?
Is Will there?
Yeah, this is Will.
This is Cindy with Home Depot Measurement Service.
Oh, so you're not calling to talk us live this morning. Hold on a second. It's Home Depot, guys. It's Home Depot. Hold on one sec.
Wow.
That's great.
Hey, I'll take this call. You guys take over for a minute.
The timing.
Perfect timing. Exactly.
Perfect timing, man. That was awesome. So what do you think, Riley? Do you think that Caleb Williams can hit 30 or more touchdowns and 4,000 yards in Ben Johnson's first year with the Bears?
See, we do this thing in sports, it seems like, where there's these, like this statistical thing that they're chasing. I don't know. And I think because the Bears haven't had a 4,000-yard passer in ever, right?
And they've never had 30 touchdowns in a season, ever.
Yeah, so I think obviously the Bears, their whole thing is I think they're a fringe playoff team if things are going well this year, right? If that's the case, I can't imagine he has, a bad stat line. But I think, I don't know, we should have had Cindy from Home Depot just roll with it. Cindy, you're on. We're going to have a conversation about the lumber or whatever she's calling Will for. But before we do that,
Carpet.
Is Dan Campbell leaving Detroit after he wins the Lombardi for the Lions? Cindy, you're up. We should have gone with that.
Right. So, yeah, Cindy did say that the Lions are going to win. She has a great feeling that the Lions are going to go the distance this year, and that I'm going to get an extra discount on my carpet. So, yeah, that was hilarious. That was perfect timing. That couldn't have been any better. It's Mystery Monday, like I said. Oh, and now we actually have another call. So we'll see if this is someone that wants to talk football. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, I got our laughs in this morning anyway.
Oh, dude, that's so good. And I've been so excited because I haven't been on the show yet where we've had somebody call in. So I've been looking forward to this. We'll see if this one's a good one.
We used to do it all the time back when
All right.
first got.
We got Bobby on the line. Bobby, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, Bobby. What do you want to talk about this morning, man? Thank you for calling into the Rise and Grind Morning Show.
Okay, let's talk about this Philly game. That place is rough,
Yes.
and everything they say about it is much worse. All right? I'm a Phillies and a Flyers fan. I'm an hour and a half away. That's where we go. I've been to 100 games. I've only been to 5 Eagle games through the years. In 2008, when John Kitna was quarterback, Roy Williams, blah, 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 I was on the 50-yard line right behind the Lions bench, front row. I had a Boss Bailey jersey on, and it was horrible. And when it's all great when you're like tailgating and all that. Everybody's good people. But once you go through the ticket booth and enter that stadium, everything changes.
So maybe I'm confused, Bobby. You're a Lions fan or a Philly fan?
I'm a Lions
Okay,
fan.
I just want to make sure. I thought you said you were a Philly fan for a second. So yeah, the Philly game. I think it's going to be it's going to be a trip. I think that it's worth it to go in and be part of it. But tell us, I guess keep going with the story as far as how bad is it, and how many years ago was this for you when you were there last?
2008.
2008. Okay, so lots changed since then.
And I will never go back.
Oh, it's that bad.
Yes, because I'm going to wear my gear, and they know if you don't wear your gear, if you're just in plain clothes, well, they know you're a Lions fan. Yeah, these people aren't stupid, and it's so bad. They're the most nastiest fans in the NFL by far. They have a courthouse. It's real. They have a judge. They have a jail cell. It's not a joke.
At the stadium?
When you in the stadium, 100%. It is so nasty. Like, look, as soon as you walk in there, and you're walking through concessions, and you know how you first come in, and you're elbow to elbow with everybody. They're all going to be chanting. When they see you, and they're talking to you, because there's hardly anybody with opposing jerseys on, because everybody knows. They're going to be chanting asshole all together, and they don't stop. I'm talking thousands of people just going asshole, when you go to use the bathroom and you're standing at the urinal, and I'm gonna tell you is exactly what's going to happen. You know how the bathrooms are there at these stadiums. You're going to be using the bathroom, and you're going to be bumped like really hard. Some people. As you're using a urinal, probably however long you're standing there, you're going to be bumped every 2 seconds, like an elbow.
So these guys are just vicious about it. They try to get at you wherever they can. I think that's part of the allure of going to the stadium. So.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an experience.
Give us a grade at least on the stadium though, from 1 to 10. 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. Leave the fans out of it. How is the stadium?
The stadium is really tall. It's a nice stadium, but you want good seats.
You don't want to be up in the nosebleeds in this one.
No, sir. And there's some really bad people up there. But when you're up top, it almost, when you stand up, and I don't mean the last row, you could be 100 rows from the top. It feels like you're going to fall over. It's so steep.
That's how Levi Stadium is in San
I went
Francisco.
to a Bears game. They played the Bears on. There were free tickets. We went, and they were on Sunday Night Football. I don't know how many years ago, but if you go, anyway, we were way up there, and the field looks like BBs.
Wow.
It was terrible, and it's not like a indoor stadium where you have the center thing where you can see. You're going to have to look at the scoreboards for everything, or look on your phone. Not very good.
Sure. So hey, do us a favor, Bobby. Yeah, Bobby, do us a quick favor here. We're up against a quick break here at 9:00. So if you could give us a quick rundown here on Aiden Hutchinson and Dan Campbell. One, do you think Dan Campbell is going to leave the Lions after, let's say, they win a Super Bowl this year? Do you think that Dan would leave in the next few years? If so, where would he go? If not, why does he stay? And Aiden, how do you think Aiden's season is going to go for him?
Okay, Dan Campbell, absolutely not. Because it's just what he coaches, and he's loyal. And I would be shocked if we ever lost Dan Campbell. Man, that guy's got a heart, dude. That's who you want to be coached by. I mean, we could never get free agents, and now we don't want free agents because we develop players so well, which is a good thing. You know, at the end of the day, no way. That guy's loyal. It's what he teaches. I just don't ever see him doing that.
And what about Aiden? And then do you believe in the hype that we need another Aiden on the other side? Where are you at in the?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You preach it all the time about interior. Man, that's where it's at. Just like paying Aiden next year. Like I say some comments like that. That's not important. Is he important? Yes. Unless he's going to give us a hometown discount, man, there's going to be trouble in the waters next year.
Yeah, there is. How do you think a season? How do you think a season's going to go?
It's not going to be the season he started last year because that was a brutal injury. And I'd like to say I was there. I was in Dallas. I flew there from Delaware. My girlfriend and we went to the game. She's from Texas. So we flew there just to go to that game. Because it's the one game I had to see because I was so angry the year before how we got screwed.
Oh.
And I was like, I got to go to that game. But again, like there's a place. I went to Dallas, best fans, I had all my line stuff on. I'm telling you, great fans. Like, totally, like Philly, nothing like that. Now, I'm right here at Washington. I'm an hour and a half away, and I'm an hour and a half away from Baltimore.
Are you going to be going to those games this year? Are you going to go to Washington?
Sir.
All right. Well, maybe we'll catch you out at one of them.
And I'm going to Baltimore. I will not go to Philly. And I'm a Philadelphia Phillies and Philadelphia Flyers, like hardcore. Right?
Oh, that's right. That's where I had the mistake this morning. I thought you said Philly Eagles, but it was the Flyers. I got you. Hey, Bobby, I appreciate you calling in this morning. We're kind of up against a break here. Anything else you want to finish with?
Man, let's go Lions, man. We got to win this Super Bowl, bro.
1,000%.
I mean, my heart's broke from this past season. It just broke me.
Well, we're going to be coming back strong, man. Bobby, I appreciate you calling in. Don't be a stranger, man.
Okay, I won't, man. God bless.
You too, brother. Take care. Go Lions.
Okay, bye-bye.
We'll see you. All right, quick break here. We'll be back here in just about 30 seconds. Let our voices reset. We're going to get into another topic. We'll be right back. Okay, just a quick break here just to kind of get things reset and reorganized here for the last hour of the show. Up next, I want to talk about the offensive line review. Pat Kerwin, Jim Miller did a nice little breakdown, so we're going to bring in some more audio. We'll take some phone calls again towards the end of the hour here, right around 9:30, 9:45-ish. The goal each and every day, let's get you guys on the phone between, like 8:35 and 9, and then again towards the end of the show. When we go to hour 3, we'll have a lot more time for just 1 hour of packed phone calls. Let's get the guys in. Let's talk about the offensive line here. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, send it with a friend. Let them know where to find their Lions content this season. We got some big changes coming. I think we're going to have some fun interaction this season with a lot of different fans around the league. We got set up every week. We're going to have a different fan group in, different channel in, talking about each game. We've got a couple of previews coming up that Riley and I have been working on. And don't forget, Eric, I'll send you some information on that later on today. So Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin, man, they have been doing this for 20 years now, I think, on, I don't know about Sirius, but Sirius XM. They've been talking football for a long time. And former GM and has a ton of information. So they did a offensive line breakdown last week. I have the audio. So I'm not going to be able to play the video, obviously, because it's an audio podcast. So I've got the audio here, and I want to start it, and I'll stop it if I can. Actually, I don't think I can stop and start it. That's the problem with this. So NFC walked, listen to this. The NFC North walked 11 offensive linemen, starters, with over 6,800 plays of experience. What I mean by that is they let 11 offensive linemen starters go. All four teams, between all four in the NFC North. Every team is now under a major transformation inside the trenches in 2025. It's not just the Lions. And I think it's interesting what they had said. To kind of break this down for you, Minnesota, they lost 2,439 plays. Chicago, they lost 2,300 plays. The Lions, we lost 2,100, so we're in third place. And Green Bay only lost 1,000. So if anyone has the better offensive line from a continuity standpoint, it's the Packers right now. But I would say that their depth doesn't come close to what the Lions. And again, the depth, I think, is what is going to be the biggest reason why the Lions go the distance this year. So of all teams, think about that for a moment. Have we ever really broken it down by plays? We haven't. We've never really broken down experience by plays and the factor of them on the field or off the field. That's a ton of experience that every team has lost. Now, the caveat for the Lions is only 2 players amounted to 2,100 plays. You know who that is, right, Eric? 2 players on the offensive line that we lost.
Yeah.
Ragnow and Zeitler. 2,100 snaps between the two of them. Riley, when you think of that, I mean, what's the first thought that comes to your mind? That, holy cow, 2,100 plays. It seems like a lot. It seems like a big number, but that's an entire season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we with all the snaps that we missed on injury or on the defensive side of the ball due to injury, it's easy to kind of take for granted the guys that are there almost every damn snap of the football. Those were Iron Men that certainly we're going to miss, and those are big shoes to fill for Mahogany, for Ratledge, for Graham Glasgow now having to take on a bigger load. The whole offensive line is going to have to be committed because, that speaks to Ragnow, that speaks to Zeitler. It's a lot of snaps that were very reliable. You knew, and Jared Goff knew what he was going to have in front of him every snap.
Okay, so before I play this, I want to get your take real quick, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be our center this year? Glasgow or Ratledge?
I have a feeling it's going to be Ratledge.
And Riley?
I think Glasgow to start and then Ratledge at some point.
That's where I'm at. I think it's Glasgow because of the experience. I got into a Twitter war with somebody, I think last Friday, when I put out a take on something. They said it was just a poor take because I said that Glasgow was the more natural fit at center. And so I had to break it down. I had to show them all the PFF snaps. No one has played center beyond Glasgow. Glasgow played center in college. He played center for the Lions for like 3 of the seasons that he was with us. And then he came back and played even more center. The guy's played more center than he has guard in his career. He's played more center than he has tackle and guard combined.
Yeah,
so I think it's a natural. Go ahead.
Yeah, he played center when he was with Denver.
Yeah, so I think it's a natural fit for Glasgow. I think that you go with experience over future, if that makes sense. But I think it's going to be interesting to hear what these two guys say. Let's take a listen. Jim Miller, Pat Kerwin on XM Channel 88.
Next team up in the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. So 15-2 a season ago, first in the NFC North, they lost to the Commanders in the divisional round. Really a terrific offense. We know their offense coordinator moved on to become the head coach of the Chicago Bears, but they were second overall in total offense, first in scoring, 6th in rushing offense, 2nd in passing, 4th in third down conversions, 10th in sacks, tied for 6th in turnovers, 3rd in red zone, 3rd in big plays, and 3rd in yards per play. They drafted Tate Rutledge. He's expected to take over for Frank Ragnow, who just talked about injuries, just too much to bear moving forward. So Tate Rutledge is 6'6", 315, second rounder out of Georgia, slated to be their starting center. Worst comes to worst, they could, I think they could move Glasgow over there, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Also, new coming over is, drafted is a backup left guard, Miles Frazier, 6'6", 325. also could be competing at that spot as well. And Frazier, he is a fifth-round pick out of LSU. New coming over from Arizona is a center, Tristan Colin, 6'3", 313, 6-year, 7 games, 0 starts a season ago. Also signed college free agent Mason Miller. He's 6'6", 310 pounds. He's out of North Dakota State University. Let's, as always, start at the left tackle spot because Taylor Decker. He's been a staple for the Detroit Lions for a decade now. 6'7", 318 pounds. 10th year, as I mentioned, 14 games, 14 starts. Have a left guard penciled in right now. Christian Mahogany got a late start last year. 6'3", 319. Second year, 7 games, 1 start for him. Ratledge, as I mentioned, will penciled in as a starting center. Have right guard Graham Glasgow. At the right guard spot, 6'6", 315, 10th year, 16 games, 16 starts last year. Have right tackle Penny Sewell, one of the best in the game, if not the best, 6'5", 335, 5th year, 17 games, 17 starts for him. Have backup left tackle Giovanni Mann, 6'7", 354, second year. He was NFI last year. That's non-football injury for the listeners out there. Mentioned drafted left guard Miles Frazier. See where it goes there. Tristan Cole coming over from Arizona, backup center. Have backup right guard Coyote Owasika. He's 6'3", 315, going on his 5th year, 11 games, 2 starts. Have backup right tackle and ineligible extraordinaire Dan Skipper, 6'9", 330, going on his 9th year, 17 games, 5 starts. Have backup left tackle Jamarco Jones, 6'4", 293, 5th year, 2 games, 0 starts. Have backup left guard Natane Muti, 6'3", 315, 6-year, practice squad, no stats for him. Have backup center Kingsley Egwakun, 6'3", 307, 2nd year, practice squad all year, no stats. Have backup right guard Michael Neese in this room, 6'5", 295, 3rd year, 17 games, 0 starts. Have backup right tackle Colby Swordsdal, 6'6", 315, going on his 3rd year, 1 game, 0 starts. And then finally, I mentioned Mason Miller, the college free agent, Pat. They lost a lot with the retirement of Frank Ragnow. Even him playing injured, Pat, he was still pretty darn good, is what I'd say.
Yeah. And they also lost Zeitler.
Yeah, Zeitler, excuse me. Yep.
Yeah, those two guys accounted for 2,100 plays. And they're terrific players. Ragnow could play if he was not all beat up and mentally and physically. He probably could have played another 5 years and dominated. Zeitler they're very happy to get him in Tennessee. He's going to be a great influence on the guys. But he played 1,048 plays last year. So when you lose two, and here's the reality of those 2 losses. Right now, they're trying to put 2 rookies in those spots. And I consider Mahogany a rookie. 75 plays, 6% of the plays. He's never been a starter. I like him, and he got a little taste of it last year, but he's replacing Zeitler, and Ratledge has the biggest job. He's replacing Ragnow. Yeah, they have a ways, in my mind. We talked about it about 2 months ago. Glasgow could easily land up as the center, and then they figure out the other guard spot. And I think Miles Frazier in time will get there. But here we go. It's different now. I think they were 19 last year, if I recall, and I had them as the highest ranked offensive line, and they should have been. Zeitler and Ragnow. Imagine if they were still here. We would just write down, I'd like to write down 20. Taylor Decker gets a 5, 895 plays, 0 holding calls. He's been around, and he is extremely reliable on the left side. Penny Sewell is the best right tackle in football. He was a Pro Bowler, and he is terrific. 1,145 plays. That's 100% of the plays. He got a holding call. Come on. That just proves he's human. Mahogany, I gave him a 1, and really, I almost thought of a 0, but that's not fair to him. They worked with him for a year, and they're fairly confident they got something. But I think drafting Miles Frazier, Miles could go after that job in time. Glasgow is a utility guy. He's been the most reliable 6th man for a long time, and he's solved a lot of problems when guys get dinged up. And that's why he lands up with 1,081 plays. 94% of the time he was on the field, and 1 holding call. 3. Ratledge is the center. He's a rookie. He hasn't played. We all know David Andrews did a great job. I get all of that. Same school. He gets a 1. It's a huge job that he's doing now, and he got a youngster in Mahogany right next to him. Thank God Glasgow's out there to help out a little bit, and he is a center as well, so he can help Ratledge quite a bit, and he's going to have to. When you look at the backups, they're an interesting group. They have 850 plays of returning guys that are going to probably make the team. Skipper Cologne from Arizona, he's a center. They got another operation there, but 850 plays return, that's a factor. And then they've got Frazier to go along with it. So I gave them a full 3 just because they've got guys that can play, and I do think, and I have my own special reasons for Frazier. I spent a lot of time on that guy during the Senior Bowl. Utility was impressive. He can play tackle as well. I like him mostly as a right guard. And the right guard is Glasgow, so what does that tell me? If Glasgow's got to go take over the center job, I can see Miles getting on the field. Doesn't mean the grade will be high, but I do like him. So tally it up. 5 and 3 is 8. That's what they get. 8 out of 8 for their tackles. Perfect. Now we get to the guards. 1 and a 3 is 4, so you're up to 12. The center's getting a 1. You're up to 13. And then you get 3 for the backups. You're at 16. And does anyone think they were going to get the same score they got last year with Ragnow and Zeitler? Absolutely not. They got the questions of getting these youngsters up and running and playing. Look, this is a team that thinks they can go to the Super Bowl, and the coordinators are gone. I get all that stuff. I don't worry about the coordinators. The head coach is the leader of the pack. I worry more about Ratledge and Mahogany, to tell you the truth.
Do have a veteran quarterback to bring along Ratledge. Like you said, we'll see where that goes. And if you remember, Glasgow left, and where was he at? Denver? And he elected to come back. He liked playing for the Lions so much and liked that room so much. He elected to return and then got 16 games, 16 starts a season ago. What, tremendous for them to get him back, I would say. But, yeah, young on the interior. And we'll see how they manage it. 16 points for the Detroit Lions, 14 points for the Chicago Bears, 16 points for the Detroit Lions. Pat pointed out the loss of Zeitler and Ragnow, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform. We're just talking off the air, and as Pat mentioned, you got a midline thrower in Jared Goff. 2 really good tackles, Decker and Penne.
Midline.
But now with the loss of those 2 big guys who were strong interiorly, going with 2 young guys, will that collapse? Will it be there? How will it affect Jared Goff? And that's why from a year ago, 19 points went down to 16 points, but we will wait and see if they are stout interiorly for Jared Goff, a straight drop back passer.
Well, gentlemen, I love the breakdown. I absolutely love the breakdown. But I am a little bit confused on something here. When he started to give his points, his score to each position, he said 5 for Taylor Decker. But then when he added it up, he said 5 and 3 is 8. And then 1 for Mahogany, 1 for Ratledge, and 3 for Glasgow got him to 13. Does he not score each tackle up to 5 points or each position up to 5 points? That's what I didn't understand. Now, he has a book that I need to go get because I think he discusses some of the grading in there and the scoring.
Yeah.
I guess I would have thought that if it's 5 for Taylor Decker, why is it not 5 for Penei Sewell, the best tackle maybe in the game?
Yeah.
So just going with his scoring, I guess, it puts the Lions in second place in the NFC North, according to Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller on Moving the Change, Channel 88 XM Radio. Credit to them and for their audio that we just listened to. Vikings 15 points, Bears at 14, Packers at 17, Lions at 16. Here's how I'm going to run it down. Left tackle Taylor Decker, 5 points, 895 plays, 895 last season, no holding calls. Mahogany, we know he got in for 2 games. He got 1 point just for getting some snaps last year. He only played in 6% of the snaps, 75 plays. He's replacing Zeitler. That's how Pat sees it. He's replacing Zeitler. Tate Ratledge. So this is the story of the day. One, they call him Rutledge, not Ratledge. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. But the Rat is replacing Rags, and that's what they're seeing. That's what they're hearing. That's what they're talking about. I was a little bit, I guess, shook when I heard that to think, man, you're going to put a rookie in at center, and he's never played center. Why wouldn't you start with Graham? I trust Dan. I trust Hank. I trust Brad. Whoever they put in makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to give you my thought as to why when they said, well, you're going to have a good guy next to him or a rookie next to him, right? Mahogany, if they put Ratledge at center and Mahogany at left guard, you're going to have a rookie next to him. So I'm going to explain why my theory seems to work a little bit better, but it's just a theory. Now for the backups, 850 plays returning from guys that are expected to make this roster. Remember, they brought in Tristan Colon. They got Giovanni Manu, not man. Jamarco Jones. Loved Jamarco Jones last year in the preseason. Frazier. Look, Miller loves this dude as a guard. I've been saying it all along that Frazier was going to be a guard. The Ratledge clearly is a guard, and Mahogany is a guard. I didn't see any of them playing center except for Ratledge. Glasgow, 1,081 plays last year. 94% of all play time. One holding call. One holding call. Now, I know his grades weren't the best, but he's considered to be the most important sixth man on the offensive line. Penei Sewell, 100% of the snaps, 1,145 plays. One holding call. That's insane to me. I could have sworn we had more holding calls than that. But that's what they're reporting, and that's what we're going to go with. Eric, when you heard the breakdown, I guess give me your thoughts now on the offensive line.
All right. Well, for one thing, Sewell getting 3 points and Taylor Decker getting 5, that's completely messed up. I think they made a mistake on their thing. I think that the Lions should have had 2 more points than they did. So I think the Lions should have been at 15 points, not
obviously
13
for Green Bay. They have changed some
Hold
things.
on. I don't know why that's playing.
Some audio, and that was the first time ever that I could actually hear the audio of whatever you were playing.
I put it through the Roadcaster.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Do it that way from now on. That was perfect. So my thing is this with the offensive line. Okay, so we brought in Cologne from Arizona. He could step in and be the backup center. You could have Glasgow be the center. Now, wouldn't it make sense to have someone with experience in the NFL on each side of a rookie?
Bingo.
So then you have a rookie left guard, a rookie right guard, okay? Or someone with minimal experience. So you have Mahogany and Ratledge. And then you're going to have some really good backups. You're going to have Frazier as a backup at a guard, Manu as a backup at a guard. You're going to have a log jam at guard, which is kind of awesome.
It's a great problem to have. And they're all young. And they're all
Great
good.
And listen, they've been training Manu as a guard and as a tackle. So he could be one of your swing players. You know, he could do either or. And then you have a few guys that are doing center and guard. So you are going to have this is probably, even though we lost Ragnow and Zeitler, this is probably going to be the deepest, best backup situation we've ever had for an offensive line. And this is something that's built for a long time.
Yes.
Because next year, what are you going to draft next year? You're probably going to draft your next left tackle to take over for Taylor Decker.
Unless that's Giovanni Manu.
Yeah. Unless it's him. Exactly.
No, I 100% agree. What's funny, Eric, is we didn't talk about this. I haven't talked to you in almost 2 weeks. And we didn't talk about any of this beforehand. And you just said the exact same thing that I was thinking, the thing that I've been saying the whole time too. Why wouldn't you want to put your rookies or your second round guy, if it is Mahogany, if he does beat out Frazier, or, you know, I don't think he's going to beat out Ratledge, and you've got them at your guard positions, and then you've got a vet in the middle that's played a ton of center, and then you've got 2 vets on the outside that have played a ton of tackle. So you are almost positioning these guys to be, encapsulated by a veteran on both sides, right? On both sides of the line, from center over left, center over right. These guys are encapsulated. I love that. I don't want to see 2 rookies together. I think that if we see 2 rookies together, not to say that they can't be good football players, but I think that's where we're going to get attacked. And if that's where you plan on getting attacked from, That's where the offensive coordinator, the run game coordinator, the pass game coordinator, the quarterback whisperer, all of them have to say, this is where your pressure is probably going to be coming from. The ball's got to go this way, all the time. You can't be run, or you run right at the pressure, right? And you try to beat it that way too. So before much further, Riley, what did you think?
Yeah, so we look at it this offseason, the Bears and the Vikings, I would say, got better on the offensive line. The Lions got reinforcements through the draft. What's the difference? The Bears and Vikings backed up the Brinks trucks to bring in their offensive line reinforcements and enhancements, if you will. The Lions just reinforced them. It's a lot different paying rookie contracts versus these huge contracts to proven players, right? So that's kind of the difference. And then I think it does make sense to start that way where you're doing it more organically. I think, especially in the case of having Glasgow start, instead of saying, okay, we should have just, you don't want to do it in the backwards order. Start with Glasgow, even if Ratledge is ready, so you don't have the pressure on a rookie, and then just let it go for a few games and then kind of, build it out from there to see, if you do need to make the change. If not, then keep it as it is. But I think that when we look at the offensive lines, despite losing the best center, arguably the best center in the NFL, the Lions still have a very strong offensive line. The difference is the Bears and Vikings, who bolstered theirs again, they had to do it with a ton of money in contracts that the Lions, won't have to pay the same amount for a Frazier and a Mahogany and the other rookies and young players they have in Ratledge. Yeah,
they bought their teams, right? They brought them in through free agency, whereas the Lions are drafting. So we've talked about roster roulette quite a bit on this channel, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, they didn't necessarily go out and bring in a left tackle of the future because that's kind of hard to do. Like when you're going to go out and grab a left tackle of the future, you're probably going to draft that guy and he's going to play year one. Unless I can't imagine Brad Holmes is going to take a project at left tackle. He did with Giovanni Manu to see if that guy could turn into something. But if he can't, he's going to end up being an extremely good backup. And to be a situational football player where you can put him in situations and utilize his size, for other schemes. Now, I'm going to turn this into a video a little bit later because I'm going to break it down a little bit further. I am going to talk about the other teams as well. But there was something that, that they were talking about the Bears that, again, I'm going to save it for the video because they broke it down in a way that I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think that the Bears were going to be potentially this bad again on the offensive line by what they're doing. So anyway, I'll save it for later. Eric, you were going to say something. I was mid-sentence. You were going to say something. What else did you want to add to this topic here on the offensive line breakdown by Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller?
I don't remember exactly what I was going to say, but listen, don't be surprised if this offensive line shakeup isn't as disruptive as everyone thinks.
Meaning that it's going to be a good disruption, right?
Yes, this just because Ragnow retired and Zeitler went on to greener pastures does not mean that our offensive line is going to fall apart. And now these young guys are going to get a lot of time, and we're going to go from one of the oldest offensive lines to one of the youngest offensive lines. That's something no one is talking about. We're going to have probably the youngest, especially when Glasgow and Taylor Decker retire or move on. We are going to have the youngest, and we probably do have the youngest in the NFC North now.
To your point, though, Frank Sewell, he's still 24 years old.
I thought he's 23. Yeah.
We are 23. He's super young and he's already put in, four seasons. So we have that, right? We have rookies that I think are as old or older than Penei Sewell right now, if I'm not mistaken. Thinking about this offensive line. So one of you guys made a good point about depth and how this is now the deepest offensive line probably in the league. I believe that. You brought in, Giovanni Manu, who, pretty much redshirted last year, didn't do a whole lot. But he got experience, right? And then this offseason, when, it was conversation, I'm sure, amongst the offensive linemen that Frank was going to retire. What does Taylor Decker do? He grabs that dude up underneath his wing and says, come on, Gio, we're going to go work out together in Arizona or wherever they were. And so he's getting that guy ready. Not only is he getting him ready for this season, he's probably getting him ready to say, look, I don't know how many more years I'm going to play. I got a family. I don't know that I want to go out like Frank did. This could be my last year or two. Let's get you ready. Let me give you everything that I know. I think Gio could be good. I really do. I think that the possibility of, turning him into a 3-year project and then watching what comes out on the other side, because you're not going to have to pay the dude a boatload of money. When Gio is ready and his contract is up, which would be after next season, so 2027, when his contract is up, and maybe he's only played one season, you're not going to have to pay that dude $25 million a year. You might end up paying $10 million on a 3-year extension, maybe $30 million for all 3 seasons. And that's it. So they're going to save a ton of money. So could Gio be the eventual left tackle? He could. But look at this depth behind these guys right now. So you've got Christian Mahogany, Giovanni Manu, Tate Rowledge, which should be a starter, Miles Frazier, and then I think that Mason Miller has a really good shot at making this roster, another, rookie UDFA. Kobe Sorsdahl, I think, has a tough road, but he is right now the left tackle back or the right tackle backup for Penei Sewell. So I think it's between Mason Miller and Kobe Sorsdahl. And then Tristan Colon, you mentioned him. And I looked at his stats yesterday when I was thinking about putting this video together, and they mentioned how he could be a center, I think, or you mentioned that. He only played 6 snaps last year at center. He hasn't played a ton. It's not to say that they couldn't turn him into a center, but this is another guy that is another guard at 6'4", 313 pounds, that has been in the league for 5 seasons. He's got a ton of experience. So it's not just the experience, it's also the fact that these guys are young and they don't have a lot of wear and tear in their body either. So one of the youngest, I believe, the roster roulette is working right now, and it worked kind of in a way that it's not typical for my methodology. It's, you can't really replace a left tackle. Like I said, that's like you grab them that year, they got to go. What they did is they replaced all the guards instead. They started backing up all the guards and potentially a center, so that they didn't have to worry about taking a first-round draft pick or moving up in the first round next season or the season after to grab their next left tackle. I wouldn't even be surprised if we end up with a left tackle in the second round. I think that Brad is that good at drafting that he might find him later on. So final thoughts on this for you guys? Riley?
Yeah, I would say for me, I think the synopsis, kind of the whole point of this is if I had told you in December or January, hey, Ragnow's going to retire, the Vikings, the Bears, they're going to dump X amount of money in their offensive line. That would kind of give you cause for concern. You're like, oh man, that's not sounding good. But I think that what we get through is we talk this through. The Lions are in a pretty good situation, especially given the circumstances, right? Again, losing arguably the best center in the NFL, division rivals dumping tons of money onto that position group. But I do think that the Lions it's the roster roulette, like you talk about, Will. I think that they're backfilling appropriately. And then even all these guys, if they don't become starters, I think that's one thing you said, Will, that stands. They're at very least, their floor is serviceable backups going forward.
I can agree, man. And I do believe that the best way, the most natural way to build a team organically, like you said, through the draft, man. Draft, develop, do it again. That's how you do it. Draft, develop, do it again. All right, let's move into something called fan mail. And again, we want to hear from you guys towards the end of the hour. I'll open up phone lines one more time. So, Eric, you got to jump right at 9:55, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me get through this fan mail real quick. Now, this is not for me. I mean, it is and it isn't, but I don't say these things to pound chest and all that good stuff. I just thought it was a really good email. And I'll share these. That's what mailbag is all for, right? I usually do a mailbag segment, but I wanted to share this one. So 49-year-old fan, a 49-year-old fan who grew up in what they call a sleepy village near Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. So way across the pond. Have been watching NFL for around 36 years. The UK had highlights of most games every weekend. So me and a bunch of buddies would watch regularly, and we all picked teams to support. My three friends picked really good organizations, the Steelers, the Bills, and the Eagles. I, on the other hand, I didn't care for the glory chasing, but there was a player that took my breath away every week, a certain Barry Sanders. The fact that Eddie Murphy was the coolest detective ever at the time made my choice easy. I was a lion. One pride, baby. Says, now I didn't realize at the time what painful days were ahead, but I loved it all and was still cheering for an 0-16 team. I'm loving the Sheila-led turnaround, though. Seasons now have an expectation of good football rather than hope. Anyway, sorry to bore you. It's not boring at all with the intro, but I was recently in a pub with us friends gathered together again, and the topic of ball came up. After talking about how we all felt about our teams, I asked them about a bizarre interaction I recently had in one of the chat rooms on a Lions pod, specifically about Broderick Martin. I've seen multiple channels call him hopeless and a wasted pick, but on this pod, one of the hosts went way over the top, called him various insults, a massive bum, and a huge bust who should be cut to work at a McDonald's. Wow. Get the F out of the D and the league. I kindly pointed out about the injuries in year 2, and that year 1 was a development for mind and body. Not only that, but calling a third-round player a bust was utterly ridiculous. I left it as saying Broderick is 100% going to make our final roster, and I expect a year where he steps up as a nice rotational piece. This was met with one sharp reply, so I left the chat, haven't been back. I can only guess what channel that was. Anyway, when I put this to my friends, they were astounded and amused in equal amounts. The response from my Philly friend was simple yet concise. He basically said it's an irrational response due to Brad's drafting success. All friends pointed to multiple first-round busts from their GMs, and many were recent too. To end this, I would just like to say that there is no Lions player I'm rooting for more than Broderick this season. I would absolutely love it if he shuts down the delusional sections of the fan base. Anyways, thanks for reading. I would love it if you could address some of your thoughts about this on a future show, and I look forward to joining the chat at Rock Down soon. Keep up the great work you do with the channel and the foundation. Appreciate you. And I left your name out of this because I didn't, I know you said to share it, but I didn't want to put your name, out there. And I appreciate you for sending in the mailbag mail here. Look, gentlemen, I've said this enough times about Broderick. He's a developmental guy. You pretty much got a 4th round pick, right? With Broderick. That's what he was. I mean, the way that Brad traded up, where the picks lied, it was a 4th round pick. I'm not gonna make any bizarre reactions about this or anything like that. I think that he's been a developmental guy now for going on his 3rd season. He had some injuries last year that derailed him. But the thing I took out of this that I really thought was a genius comment was the fact that it's Brad's drafting. Now, we've spoke about this many times. Why is it that Broderick is getting picked on? Well, it's because all these other 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks that Brad has brought in have ended up starting and becoming great football players. Not all of them, but most of them. What about Chase Young? What about Chase? What was the guy's last name? Our corner that didn't make the team. What about Jamar Jefferson? What about some of these other late round picks that just really didn't stick around? But more importantly, I think that this was a very fair comment that Brad has done such a good job with drafting that now a 3rd round pick is getting picked on because he's not playing. He's got some pretty good football players around him. You still have Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Paschal, Ali McNeil, and DJ Reader in front of you. You're the 5th guy in the rotation, no matter what team you're on. You're not going to break that. You're not going to get in front of those guys. If they're all injured, which a lot of them were, then maybe at some point you get a little bit of playing time. But we happen to bring in better guys last year through the, by the trade deadline. So poaching these guys off practice squads and things of that nature. I think the guy's spot on, man. Will he make the team? I think he's got a hard case. But we're going to talk about Josh Paschal here in just a moment. I'd like to know from you guys, how did you feel about this? I sent you guys the email. How did you feel about this email? Is there anything you want to pull out of this to talk about?
Sure. Listen, this guy's a Lions fan through and through. I love it. I love how he started with Barry Sanders. He's been through the ups and downs, more downs than ups. 30 years of disaster to finally get to where we are now. Now, I'll say this about Broderick Martin. Going into last season, Broderick Martin had an amazing training camp. He had transformed his body. He went from a really high to a really low body fat content, and he was looking amazing. And then he got hurt. And I think it was in the preseason he got hurt or in training camp, and it derailed his entire season. It really did. So that's an injury that we don't talk about. You know, we talk about all these other injuries we had, but just because he wasn't on IR, we don't talk about Broderick Martin's injury as being a big injury. But he was just one of a million injuries we had last year. So if Broderick Martin can come in this year and do kind of like what we're trying to do with Marcus Davenport and stay healthy for a season and transform his body once again and be ready this year and put in the work, I think that Broderick Martin can have a good season. So you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go to NFLshop.com. I'm going to figure out what Broderick Martin's new number is, because I know he traded with somebody, and I'm going to order me a Broderick Martin jersey today. So
that's going to secure his spot on the roster.
Here in a couple weeks, you'll see me with one of his jerseys. Hey, man, I bought some jerseys of people that didn't make the team.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know, I have a Matthew Betts jersey in my closet. You know,
they make great fire starters. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Hey, you know, you go to any Lions game. Go to any Lions game right now. You're going to see the old jerseys. You're going to see a Charles Rogers in the thing. You're going to see all these players that you haven't heard of, or, oh man, I remember that guy. You know, all these players that, you know, Benny Blades jersey you're going to see at a Lions game. You're going to see some jerseys you haven't seen in a long time, or players that haven't been on the team for a while. But these people like that player. They bought that jersey and they support the Lions no matter what. And at least they have a Lions jersey on, whether it's the old one, the new one, whatever. I love them all. So
it's funny you bring up Benny Blades, because I used to get on my dad all the time. That is the only jersey he ever used to wear, excuse me. even up until last year. So finally I had enough, and I went out and bought him a new hat and a Barry Sanders black jersey last year. And I said, I don't want to see Benny Blades worn ever again. And then I'm sorry, it was a Dre Bly, not Benny Blades. It was Dre Bly. But same era, right? It was Dre Bly. Which, I mean, last year he had an excuse to wear Dre Bly because Dre Bly was back. So Riley, anything you want to add to this segment before we move on?
Yeah, no, it's a great email. It's awesome to see. And I share a lot in common with this listener, just, you know, picking a team with no connection to him. And then it's just becomes part of our DNA. It's in the blood. It's the love for the Lions is so strong. But yeah, I think it's crazy too, if you're jumping into Lions podcasts. I can only imagine what it was like listening to podcasts in 2008, you know, whichever ones were out there, what they're talking about. Right. Yeah. Because now it's like, man, you notice if they're nitpicking Brad Holmes this and Brad Holmes that and Broderick Martin and should be working at McDonald's. You know what you're not talking about? The Lions being a losing football team, because they're winning games. Right. So if that's their topic for the day is Broderick Martin should be working at McDonald's, that just seems weird, because I guarantee if they saw Broderick Martin at McDonald's or wherever, what are they going to do? Ask to take a picture with him, right? Hey man, you come on our podcast. They'd want to have him on.
Probably go run to the bathroom and cower like a little baby.
Yeah, right. So it's just an interesting thing. You know, people may say, hey, yeah, you know, these guys at Rock Down, they're whatever, you know, you hear it all, they're homers, and they agree with everything Brad Holmes says. Yeah, because he's doing like 90% of the things he's doing are working, which is a pretty damn good rate for a general manager. So if the Lions weren't a good football team, you know what you'd hear us say? That they're not a good football team.
Which, you know what, newsflash, I don't agree with everything Brad does. Never have.
Of course not. Yeah, of course not. Being a fan doesn't mean he can do no wrong. That's not at all what's happening here. But I mean, if you're going to nitpick some of the stuff, yeah, let's talk about Broderick Martin should be working at McDonald's. They won the division.
I mean, isn't that's some super intelligent conversation, right? I mean, wow, it's such impactful,
hard hitting.
Yeah, hard hitting news, man. Wow. All right, I'm gonna move off of this one, and then Brandy Coffee. I did look at the mailbag. I did see that, and it's funny that you brought that up. But Detroit Jock City. Now I'm going to be talking about an article here about Josh Paschal, which was kind of what today was really all about. I know we've got about 10 minutes to get this done with Eric. But Jock City, I came to this idea this weekend. Did you know how some people, they'll create, ghostwriters for themselves? I think that Detroit Jock City, which is owned by Fansided, they did this just to give their writers that they have now ghostwriter names, because you won't see what you have seen over the last few years. Now I'm guessing, I don't know this, right? So this is alleged. You don't see certain writers writing the same BS that they were. Now you're seeing all that in this alter ego, website now. You're not seeing it on the other website. And I'm like, maybe these guys are the same guys writing the same filth. They're just putting it on a different website so they don't get hit and attacked in the locker room, apparently, like they did before, because they've written things about players. They're writing it under fake names and everything else. Just a guess. Now, that's my, conspiracy of the day, I guess, but just a guess, because it is bad. Detroit Jock City is terrible. Everything that I've read on there really hasn't been much that is actual news. It is just speculation about, this guy needs to get cut, that guy needs to get cut. It's talking about that. Heavy.com put out another banger of a headline.
And as you know, I'm seeing the league.
This is your thing.
Very clearly.
You were the top.
Apparently, I didn't have it set up. Hold on. Where did it go?
I think you're probably onto something with that, though, Will. Is it seems like, hey, let's, whenever the light bulb went off, I know what we can do. Make it, alter ego, and then the players can get mad at, Bruce Anderson or whoever. They had no idea it's me.
Exactly.
Well, that's like Carlos Molina,
Carlos Benares.
Yeah, was it him, or there was one of the Detroit Free Press writers that was just, or the Detroit News writers that was just negative all the time, no matter what. Even when we went to the NFC Championship game, just brutal, bad all the time.
Yeah, it's a shtick.
He's been that way his whole life. Look, there's some people that do podcasts, have shows. They're characters, man. That's all it is. They're just trying to get clicks, and maybe that's all it is. For me, I'm not trying to just be some character. I'm trying to be real and raw about what we discuss here. You guys are the same way. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, there we go. All right, so Lions expected to apparently cut ties, or pressured to cut ties with a $7.7 million player. Same kind of thing that we just talked about last week. And they're talking about who, guys? Who do you think they're talking about? Josh Paschal. So let's just get into it. They're saying in here that it's that quiet time during the offseason when teams are still making moves, but things won't really heat up until later in the season. The Detroit Lions, as with all NFL teams, are finalizing their lineups, and that means adding and deleting some players. Yeah, that's true. Now, the Lions are in a good place because they're bringing back some solid players from last season, but they're also dealing with some big lineup changes on the coaching staff. The Lions, of course, will be without offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, blah, 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 blah. We already know that. Same old stuff. A player the Detroit Lions could trade away. Now, this Ann Erickson person, I don't know how much she really knows about football when I read some of these things, but the subject line on the newest season apparently is, see that name right there, Efstasio Savidis of Detroit Jock City? Is that even a real name? Probably. States that in June 2027 feature, it'll be tough to repeat the regular season success of last year due to the numerous departures from the coaching staff. I call BS. But with their talented core remaining and Dan Campbell still at the helm, the Lions should be in good shape. That's true. Now, Savidis has an idea of a player who doesn't believe the team needs right now, and that's Josh Paschal. Guys, why don't we need Josh Paschal? I'll start with you, Eric.
I don't know. I think we need him.
Riley, do you think that we need Josh Pascal?
Yeah, I do. I think he's an important part of the team. He's been on the team. Bring him back.
Chat and comments later. Do you think that we need Josh Pascal? See, here's the biggest thing for me when I see stuff like this. It kind of ticks me off because we haven't even made it to camp yet. You have 90 guys dedicated to your camp roster. Some teams 91 or 92, depending on what you've done with, international player pathway. And the Lions, I think, are at 88. I think they have 88 guys signed. Last I checked, that could have changed over the weekend. You would never make a move on a player before camp unless that player is extremely low on the totem pole, which Josh Pascal is not. He was our starting right defensive end after everybody got injured last year. And especially when Aiden went down, I mean, he was immediately thrust into starting as a defensive end as opposed to being more of an interior player. Thankfully, he can do both, right? So this Sevedis guy says that, he doesn't believe that the Lions need Josh Pascal and the Lions should trade him immediately. Now, if someone could look up his contract and see what 7.7 really means this year, it says the Lions selected Josh Pascal in the second round of 2022. And during this time with the team, he's clocked 5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, and 15 quarterback hits. And during the 2024 season, he started in 10 games. But Savidis points out that he only posted 2 sacks. Nobody cares about sacks. Honestly, the people that care about football don't care about sacks. 5 tackles, 4 for loss, and 8 quarterback hits. Also, the PFF gave Pascal a 54.5 overall grade, which ranks him 154th out of 211 eligible edge rushers. He's not an edge rusher. Let's just put that out there right now. He's not an edge rusher. This guy is an interior defensive lineman that plays in a hybrid role, which does put him on the outside. Yes, he can get after the quarterback, but largely his position is called the can crusher. He is meant to bottle up the outside, control that edge, and push it the other direction. Last year, he was a fish out of water, number one. Number two, he was playing on a defense that lost how many guys, Riley? 18 to IR?
18.
18 to IR. So how good was he going to really be able to play when he's not dealing with a full deck? Matter of fact, he was on his 3rd or 4th deck last year. All right, Lions player wasn't able to make an impact. So even when the Detroit defense went down in 2024, Savidis says that Pascal wasn't able to make an impact. So his case is that the player just hasn't blossomed into the reliable edge that Detroit needs in that position. Although Pascal has been solid in the run game, receiving a 62.5 run defense grade, he hasn't evolved into a quality starting edge. Again, the dude is not an edge. He's just not. That's not his position. Goes on to say that both parties could benefit from a trade, as the Lions need to bolster their secondary. They do, which ranked 30th in passing yards per game. See, this type of stuff, I just got to end this right now. This type of stuff, to me, it gets me so hot. Because here's what it speaks to me. And I don't know everything about football, but I know enough. Eric, why was our passing 30th ranked in the league last year? If you were to take a guess, you watched every game. Why? Just why? Give me 2 reasons why do you think it was?
Injuries.
And? You say it all the time.
We were playing a lot of man.
Well, no. We always play man, but it's something I know it's been a while, but bend but don't.
Yeah, bend but don't break.
There you go. But why is that? Because we were playing with a
lead.
Big giant lead. The whole
big
game.
lead.
Yeah.
So, of course, your passing defense is not going to be the greatest when you're allowing other teams to chunk the ball, 8 to 12 yards at a time, make them chew up 5-6 minutes on the clock. They score a touchdown or a field goal. You get the ball back, you march down the field and score. But you're already up by 20, 30 points in a lot of these games that you're doing that. Matter of fact, we should probably go back and look at the 2 games we had major blowouts in. You know that or 3 games, when you have a major blowout happening, what does the other team do?
All they do is throw the ball.
Abandon the run.
Exactly. So if they're passing the ball and you're allowing them to pass the ball, you don't have to play shutdown defense if you're up by 25 points. Exactly. So that's exactly why that number looks worse than what it is. So when I read stuff like this, it tells me that these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. They didn't watch any football.
Well, listen to this, Will. So this guy's talking about a $7 million defensive end who is a lineman, by the way. Josh Paschal signed a 4-year, $7.7 million contract with the Detroit Lions, including $2.8 million signing bonus and $4.1 million guaranteed, and an average annual salary of $1.9 million. In 2025, Paschal will earn a base salary of $1.6 million and a workout bonus of $100,000, while carrying a cap hit of $2.4 million and a dead cap value of $701,000. So if you take that 2.4 of his cap hit, take off the dead cap of 700,000, you basically save 1.7 million if you cut him. Is Josh Paschal worth $1.7 million? Of course he is.
1,000%. See, this is the stuff that gets my goat, man. It's, and I know you're up against the clock, so I want to try to leave the last minute up to you here. I'll finish my statement in a minute. Eric, wrap up your day. I know you got to go handle your stuff, so wrap up your day today.
Paschal goes, man, this guy's on the cheap. There's no reason to cut him immediately. You're going to save 1.7 million. So don't believe these hype stories. And I've had a lot of people lately sending me messages saying, is this real? Is this fake? Because people have been posting stuff about Alex Anzalone signing a new contract and this and that. Please do your homework before you share any of this stuff or you believe in it. Go to X, go to Adam Schefter, go to one of the major names and see if they've reported on it. If they haven't, it's most likely fake. So that's what I'm gonna leave you guys with today. Don't believe all the fake stuff that's out there, and there's a lot of it being put out right now because this is the dead season. There's nothing going on right now, so people are putting out BS. So just don't believe it and go Lions. See you guys tomorrow.
We'll see you. And I got a better place to go. Just come get your news right here every morning. We'll tell you the truth. See you, Eric, man. Have a good day. All right. We'll finish this out. Here's my final take on this whole thing. And I'm glad that he broke down the contract. If the Lions were to trade post June 1, they'll save roughly $2.4 million with a trade after June 1. Okay? That's not enough for me to move off of Josh Paschal, who's 4 years in the system. He was injured, right? Largely for the first couple of seasons. We only really saw him last year for who he can be for the first time. Outside of his first year in the league. I mean, the first half of that first season, I thought that he played a couple of good games. We could see what his potential was. And then the injuries kind of took over. So, look, Josh Paschal still has a long way to go, but he is much closer to being a great football player, or at least a valuable role player than he is to being off this team. Saving $2.4 million. Who are you going to go sign right now for $2.4 million?
That's exactly it. That's the thing you don't see in the article. Not only that is, hey, the Lions should trade this guy. Okay. All right. For who?
Exactly. Who are you going to trade for? Is $2.4 million going to help you get Trey Hendrickson?
No, it's not. It's a drop in the bucket for what he wants.
1,000%.
That's the thing. You always hear it too. And they should fire this coach. They should trade this player. Okay. Who are you going to go hire? If you let this guy go, if that's what you want to do, okay, that's your argument. You're entitled to feel that way. But then tell me who you're bringing in to make it make sense.
So here's a snapshot of his contract, just so you guys know that I'm not full of it. Of course, visit spotrac.com for all of the latest information on contracts. So there you go. If I were to trade Paschal, we'd have a $700,000 cap hit of dead money in 2025, and they would save $2.46 million. So that's just not enough for me. I don't think it's enough for the Detroit Lions, and it's definitely not enough to bring in another player that I think, could potentially be better than him. I don't know of another player that's available right now without making a trade that would involve you having to give up significant cap and significant, draft capital of the future, which we just gave up a lot of third-round draft picks next year. The Lions need to retain as much as they can. They still have a couple more football players they need to sign for this team next season. So It's 10 o'clock, so we're kind of up against it. I'd appreciate you guys doing us a quick favor and liking the stream before you leave, and also subscribing to the channel. It would be a great help to the channel to help us grow. Obviously, we got big growth plans. Got some other channels that we're slowly working on, and I'm trying to get some videos done to get those channels released. We got a big preview coming up on Wednesday. I'll be hammering that out tonight. But Wednesday, we've got a big preview. I think that we're just going to go ahead and do it as one of our topics, but I'm going to record it as a video while we do it. And one other thing, you're probably going to start to notice that after the live show, that the live show will get delisted and it will be replaced as a video. So live shows, if you want to get in and watch the content live, please do that. But after the fact, it will be a video, maybe chunked up, might be bits and pieces, but that's the whole point of having a live show, is to get you guys in here live. And if you can't make it, we understand. But please watch, the videos when we're done. That's what will help, the channel grow. So I'm going to try to start chunking it up into 15-minute segments as we manage each topic. So Riley, what's your final 30?
Yeah, great way to start the week right here with Rocked On Detroit Lions. And I'm excited, man. The previews are going to be great. We've got a lot of good things in store. I'm so excited for the season. And I think it just goes back to what Brian Branch was saying at the start of the show when Eric was doing that. They're confident in this team. I guarantee you, if you ask Brian Branch, hey, what do you think about Josh Pascal? He's going to say that guy's important to this team. You can't just swap him out and have it mean nothing. Now, does it pan out? You hope it does. If it doesn't, then you can make change. But yeah, I just don't get the whole, just trade this guy, draft this guy, sign this guy, and do everything but what they've actually done. So I'm excited for the season, excited for the next show that we've got coming up, and hope everybody has a hell of a start to their week here on this fine Monday morning.
Yeah, in the chat, Ornery, what happened, man? He says, I guess I got called out. What'd you get called out about? I know it wasn't from us. Let me end these Q&As too.
Getting called out, it's not a bad thing, Ornery. I'm sure. I
guess it depends on what it is.
I guess it depends. Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know what it is. It wasn't from us. So if you thought it was from us, it definitely wasn't from us. Let's see. I'm just trying to look back at some of these chats because I missed a lot of the chat today. So I appreciate you guys continuing to send in, all the messages in the chat. We'll try to get to as many as we can. I promise. But I'm going to go back to doing just a fan show. If you guys remember when I first started, I used to have just a fan night only. Not fan of the show, just Lions fans. Just being able to conversate. I can't put up the chats on the screen like I used to. I'll try to figure that out, but I'll have to put that, in line with the other 99 things I got going on. But we definitely want to read them and talk about it. So keep pumping it, keep putting it out there, keep sharing. It would be great if you guys could help us grow this season. I think that we'll grow a ton. I've got a different plan that's going to work for some other things, but I just got to refocus back on this channel. So you guys have a good day. And, on Voxer. Yeah, I haven't been on Voxer in so long, so I don't know. Have fun on the Voxer. The Voxer's for all you guys to have fun with. So hopefully it's just people having fun. Anyway, look, it's Monday, man. It's Mystery Monday. We don't know what we're going to get, right? Just like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get inside, right? Well, I don't know how that quote is, but
close enough. Yeah.
Close enough. The thing for me about news on a Monday is a lot of stuff happens over the weekend, but not right now. There's nothing going on. And I would like to say that, some of these articles is because of the dead season, but quite honestly, I don't think that it is. I think that is just the extent of these people's football knowledge, and they'd be more willing to just put out a bunch of BS than maybe find some truth. I would love to talk to some of these people. I would love to have a conversation with some of them on why, they put this stuff out. I want to know how many of them are actually real writers. I don't think a lot of them are, honestly. I think that there's a lot of fake people, a lot of fake writers now, especially with AI. They're just trying to pump out content. So, and I'm not saying that this is one. I'm just saying that in general, I think that it's a big problem. So, all right, you guys have a good rest of your Monday. Apparently, I'm going to go deal with carpet. And thanks, Cindy, for calling in today. Have a wonderful day. You guys take care. Go on, Pride, go Detroit Lions. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
The podcast. Shout out to Rock on Detroit Lions, man. My pride.